There was no doubt that the inclement weather in Iowa had a huge impact on people coming out to these caucuses. What we know about the caucus goers is that they are largely enthusiastic people. They are people who want to be there. And of course, the caucus process is so interesting in that it's secret ballot. But Trump has always boasted the most enthusiastic supporters. And so with his people making it out in larger numbers for him, I'm not surprised, braving the storm that was. I think also when we talk about Desantis and Haley, their showings were pretty good. In some ways, DeSantis faces that tough decision inevitably on whether he should stay in the race or not, regardless of last night's results. But I think Nikki Haley, more than anybody else, she got what she really needed out of last night. And if you heard, let's be honest, Iowa does not predict what the rest of the Republican electorate is going to do. This was a very small faction of today's Republican Party. And even within that faction, we're looking at a high number of evangelical voters who in 2016 voted for Trump very enthusiastically and overwhelmingly. But when it came to 2020, these were the kind of voters that said that they voted for Trump perhaps with their nose pinched. They know that he was the one for the job, but they didn't feel great about everything about him. My sense is here we sit now with an economy that doesn't feel great despite the numbers. And in looking at such, you have a lot of voters who are concerned about how America is going to continue to be prosperous, innovative, competitive. So with that front of mind and Biden in office, I think these people have a lot of nostalgia for Trump's administration and clicked for him again. The turnout was very low. So that price per voter was super high this time. And I think campaigns are going to get wise to that. They're going to be more creative when they look at these future states. And let's not forget what's on the line when it comes to Super Tuesday. That's the date I'm really looking at. All those contests are going to give us the pulse of the Republican electorate versus Iowa, which though it's first in the nation, again, we're looking at a very far right component of today's GOP, which isn't entirely MAGA held. Very much like. So moving forward, you again have a very mixed up electorate of Republican voters that are looking again for somebody largely that can win in the general, or they're feeling nostalgic for the person that they felt was had a successful administration, gave us a good economy, had us in a place where we were not embroiled in so much geopolitical tension. And that is the complicating factor of this entire race.
And one is that the turnout was so low, the weather was so dangerous, everything was closed, that from my reading, it looks like it's just over 110,000 people who participated. That looks like about 5% of the voter eligible adult population. And that's about half of what would have normally participated in a caucus. So for Biden, it was 9%. So we're talking a sliver that got to be more of a sliver. So the warning signs, I think, that I see even despite Trump's victory is that it looks like his base was the strongest in rural areas and small towns by a lot. And he was having more troubles in the suburbs, which is basically where you have to win. You can't win a general election without winning the suburbs. And he was having more, obviously he did much worse in the cities. But the other big thing is that it looked like his base is increasingly swinging towards non-college educated. So he's really a populist candidate, mobilizing people to, on the one side, participate in politics that probably never would. We used to think about people who participate in caucuses as being party extremists, educated, older. But Trump's base, it looks like of his supporters, only 2 in 10 had a college degree. And for Haley and DeSantis, 5 in 10 had a college degree. I think Haley and DeSantis are actually the more conservative candidates in a traditional liberal conservative scale. But I think Trump is the populist candidate. And the economy and immigration are the populist issue. So in that way, I think it was very telling of the country. In that way, I think it's telling of the country, and I think it's telling of the issues for the Republican Party, if that makes sense. Does it mean that? So I really think we need a higher turnout New Hampshire primary. We need a higher turnout South Carolina primary, and we need to water test these candidates in a different environment. And I don't know what we can do, but we should not call the race for any candidate until it gets closer.
I'm Meg Kennard, national politics reporter for the Associated Press.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, thank you. Thanks so much. They threw everything but the kitchen sink at us.
Thank you, Iowa.
Former President Donald Trump marked a victory in this year's Iowa caucuses. These are the leadoff votes in the Republican presidential contest. They're often looked at as a potential indicator of what's to come in the states that follow. Trump's camp had been confident that he was going to win this year in Iowa, but they had kind of been squishy about exactly what that margin would be, by how much he would be topping the other two contenders who were really competing in an intense battle for second place. There are other candidates in the race, but it was really former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley and Florida Governor Ron Desantis who had been locked in a battle for that second place position.
We thank you for your support. You helped us get a ticket punched out of the Hawkeye State.
Tonight, it was Desantis who ended up finishing second in the Iowa caucuses. It was a distant second place to Trump, though. And this is a state where Desantis had been focusing a lot of his efforts, a lot of his ground game. He moved many of his key campaign staffers here to Iowa to show the state and to show the caucus goers this was a place he was really focusing on and aiming to draw them out on what has been a very, very cold night for the caucuses. And in third place, there's Haley. And she talked tonight at her victory party. They always call it a victory party. Clearly she came in third. But she talked at her caucus watch party about how when she launched her campaign back in February of last year, she was in the low single digits. And now to come in third place in a campaign here in Iowa where many others have dropped out of the race and it's consolidated, and now she's placing third to Trump and DeSantis, she shows that as a sign that her campaign is ascendant and looking forward to the states that come after this. She's leaving caucus night right after leaving her party. She's going straight to that next state, which is New Hampshire, which holds its first in the nation primary next week.
Thank you, Iowa. We're going to continue on. We're going to make you proud, and we're off to New Hampshire. Thank you very much.
All the focus of the 2024 nominating contest goes to New Hampshire, and then after Nevada's caucus, coming to South Carolina, which is Haley's home state and is actually where DeSantis is heading tonight after the caucus to show his intent to compete seriously there and take the battle straight to Haley.
It's a very special night, and this is the first because the big night is going to be in November when we take back our country, and truly, we do make our country great again. Thank you very much, everybody. Great honor. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.